So the whole US-China trade relationship might have just hit a massive tipping point. There's this one single proposal on the table that's sending some serious shockwaves through the global economy, and it really makes you wonder, what on earth comes next? And that brings us to the big question, the one on everybody's mind right now. Former President Trump has thrown out the idea of a 100% tariff on Chinese goods. So, is this just a really aggressive negotiation tactic? A way to get leverage before sitting down at the table? Or are we actually watching the beginning of a full-blown economic war, a real separation between the world's two biggest economies? To really get what's at stake here, we need to talk about this one key term, decoupling. It's a simple idea, really. It's the process of the US and China trying to untangle their economies from each other, reducing how much they depend on one another for, well, everything, goods, tech, money. This idea, it is at the absolute heart of this whole conflict. Now look, that 100% tariff proposal, it absolutely grabs all the headlines. I get it. But it's so important to understand that this whole situation has already moved way beyond just simple taxes on stuff. What we're really seeing is a much, much broader commercial struggle. Honestly, the best way to describe what's going on is tit-for-tat. It's like a strategic chess match. For every single move one side makes, you can bet the other side has a countermove all lined up and ready to go. And it's being played out across a whole bunch of different economic battlefields. And this thing goes so much deeper than just slapping tariffs on goods. Think about it. When the US puts export controls on its sensitive technology, China turns around and restricts access to the critical raw materials you need to make that technology. When the US blacklists Chinese companies, China just creates its own unreliable entity list to do the same to foreign firms. Heck, even shipping isn't safe. US fees on ships get met with way more inspections at Chinese ports, which just slows the whole system down. It is truly a multi-front battle. And all of this leads to a really crucial insight from one expert on Bloomberg television who put it perfectly. I think China has learned how to play this game. See, they're not just reacting anymore. They are strategically matching US policies with their own sophisticated moves, basically signaling that they are dug in and prepared for the long haul. So, what's really driving all of this? Why the escalation? Well, this brings us to a fundamental change in the entire dynamic. This is about so much more than just money now. And here is the absolute key to understanding the moment we're in. The whole conversation has shifted. We've moved past arguing about trade deficits and surpluses. For a growing number of people making policy in the US, the main reason for all these actions is now national security. So what does that security focus actually look like? Well, it means things like actively trying to rely less on China for critical supplies, so that things we absolutely need can't be held hostage. It means controlling access to critical minerals, the basic building blocks of all our modern tech. It means cutting ties in really sensitive, high-tech areas to stop technology from being transferred. And at the same time, it means making it easier to invest with our allies, to strengthen those economic bonds instead. This security mindset is the real engine driving this whole push to decouple. But all of this, the escalating conflict, this major shift in focus, it all comes with a very, very real cost. The economic consequences are already popping up, and honestly, they could get a lot worse. To really get the scale of what's being talked about, we have to look at where we are right now. The Peterson Institute estimates that the current average tariff on Chinese goods is already sitting at around a mind-boggling 50%. And the new proposal would literally double that, all the way to 100%. The jump from a level that's already causing huge disruptions to one that could pretty much stop trade in its tracks, well, it's just immense. But the biggest cost might not even be the tariffs themselves. It's the uncertainty. It's the not knowing. When the rules of the game can just change so dramatically overnight, it becomes almost impossible for a business to make any long-term plans. I mean, where do you build your next factory? Who do you sign a 5-year supply contract with? That kind of instability just freezes everything. And this uncertainty isn't just some abstract idea. It leads to very real problems. We're already seeing huge amounts of tax avoidance and evasion as companies scramble to get around the rules. Experts are warning that a 100% tariff would be devastating for America's West Coast ports, which are massive hubs for global trade. And that, in turn, directly threatens the jobs of countless people in trucking, in warehousing, and on the rails, who all depend on that flow of goods. So let's pull all these threads together. After all this back and forth, where does this leave us?
I mean, what's the actual endgame in this incredibly high-stakes confrontation?
When you boil it all down, there are basically two ways to look at this whole thing. On one hand, you could say this is all just aggressive posturing. It's a high-stakes poker game where both sides are just trying to build up their stack of chips to get a better deal when they finally talk. But on the other hand, this could be something way more permanent. This could be a fundamental, deep-seated shift driven by national security fears that are literally forcing the two economies apart. Maybe for good. And that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Are we just watching some tough pre-negotiation chest thumping? Or are we actually witnessing the final, irreversible breakup of the world's two economic superpowers? The answer to that is going to define the global economy for decades to come.